for those who haven't heard, the mayor of Lamar suggested, insinuated that she was the victim of a hate crime because somebody had spray painted her car, vandalized her personal asset, and then we found out it was pollen. And I have no idea who the mayor of Lamar is. When I was in politics, I kept up with some of these different mayors around varying municipalities. I keep up with the mayor of Pamplico because that's where I'm from, and I still speak to him occasionally. Other than that, the mayor of Florence and I have a friendship, but I don't know who the mayor of Lamar. I know who she is. I don't have any idea what her misinterpretation was, how it could have been pollen on a car, and her arguing that that was evidence of a hate crime. Maybe it just speaks to this, this burning desire we have to be offended. I really believe there's a certain segment of America who has a burning desire to be offended. So they wake up every single day looking for a reason to suggest to someone else that you or a friend of yours or an accomplice, somebody offended them. And they have the right and authority at the drop of any hat to say, I was offended. And I think you make a fool of yourself when you go down that road.
Oh, and it diminishes a real hate crime.
Well, it does. And there are serious examples of that we need to deal with. But for someone, here's what I'll argue. And I'm not going to be careful because I think it's ridiculous. To me, the people of Lamar who elected somebody who is not thoughtful enough to understand that pollen on a car is not an example of, a hate crime, then you got exactly what you deserve in Lamar. Forgive me. And I'm sure we've got some listeners in Lamar. We probably got some that voted for this mayor and some that voted against this mayor. But if you voted for someone who is willing to go down that road, you'll get exactly the mayor you deserve. Because it's bizarre to me. It's a lack of comprehending, that every year this happens. Every year yellow crap comes out of nowhere, and it messes our car up. It messes our driveways up. It messes our buildings up. It's going back to God. It's a God thing. It's part of the ecosystem of which we're allowed to exist in. And for the life of me, if you elected somebody who doesn't know any better than that, then you'll get exactly the government you deserve. And then I just think some people in society, Rev, have been coached into believing that anything that happens in their life that they don't understand has to be somebody out to get them. There's got to be a group of white people. There's got to be a group of black people. There's got to be a group of young people. There's got to be a group of old people. There's got to be a group of Christians. There's got to be a group of non-Christians, and they're all out to get somebody. And I just, for the life of me, but we asked for this. We've really got a political party in America today that, in essence, their strategy is to cobble together these different factions or groups of people who believe, whether they have been or not, who believe they've been personally assaulted or insulted, and they've tried to cobble together those people.
Here's your identity politics.
Well, that's what the Democrats are. That's where they are. They've got to find, 1 million people who have been offended, another 1 million people who have been offended, 5 million people, and that's their strategy to win elections. They can't do it on ideas. They can't do it on policy. So what they're doing is trying to find an aggrieved culture. These varying groups of people who can, for whatever reason, say that, we've not been treated fairly. And if you can find enough groups of people, whether they firmly believe it or not, who don't believe they've been treated fairly, and you can consolidate or get those folks to coalesce around one common cause, that is the Democrat Party today. It's not a serious party on thought and policy. It's not. I read some of their election reform bill. That's one of the first bills they reported out of the House. It is as anti-American as they come. It really does. It puts, it makes every single vote we cast subject to a federal program. It makes a casual conversation that you and I have about politics. It potentially turns that into lobbying. It gives government more and more and more and more and more authority. And at the end of the day, the difference in what Barack Obama ran as 10 years ago, Obama ran, first in 2008? Mm-hmm. So 11 years ago. When Obama ran in 11, he was a liberal. He was a 5-star liberal, but he couldn't tell the people that's what he was. 10 years later, he absolutely could. Anybody can on that side. You can say, I'm a five-star liberal, I'm a socialist, I'm a redistributionist, and it becomes very mainstream. So the things that Obama stood for 10 years ago, and we knew what he was.
Oh, yeah. It slipped out occasionally, like spread the wealth, Joe the plumber.
And the media ran interference.
Yep.
I mean, the media absolutely ran interference for him, but that's what the Democrats have turned into. And, you know, this lady, the mayor of Lamar, for her to suggest that pollen is evidence of a hate crime, well, first of all, shows a lack of understanding of nature and the way the world works in March and April in South Carolina. But for her mind to automatically go to, she walks out of her house, she sees some yellow residue on her car, and she, in a nanosecond, says, I'm victim of a hate crime. That's what she's been coached into believing. That's what her party stands for. I don't know if she's a Republican or a Democrat. I'm going out on a limb and saying she's a Democrat. I mean, I just am. Because I don't think a Republican would have responded that way. But the Democrat Party in America today and their empowerment mechanism is for you to suggest loudly and proudly that somebody's out to get you. That is the strategy of the modern political party that we call the Democrats.